All right, well, thanks everybody for coming tonight. I'm really excited to be the person that is here taking over these little investor meetups. As we all know, or I'm not sure if you know, the Coffin family is now officially a family of 5. So Dale and Marla are at home being servants to their children. So I am Judy. I've been with Marda Management for the last 5 years. I am now the managing director here at Marda Management, looking after all the day-to-day operations for the entire company, while Marla and Dale enjoy their maternity leave. Tonight, what we wanted to talk about was renovations. It's a really timely, we're heading into the season of renovations. It's important, we want to talk about what you should do, when you should do, how you should do, and then who is important. So here at Marda Management, we've been in business for over 12 years. We've done every kind of renovation that can be done, and if we haven't done it, we've absolutely overseen it. So in the 12 years, we've overseen complete rebuilds from something as serious as fires that have gutted out units or entire buildings. And of course, during the fix and flip craze that happened through the late 2019 all the way through 2022, we were here right in the thick of that, doing those kinds of renovations with our property owners, as well as to some of the properties that we acquired. So definitely all of that time and experience has really helped us refine our processes. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about us being the who, but also let's just start about the when. One of the big things is when do you renovate? You have to think about these things in a lot of ways. So first of all, you got to think about, obviously it's easy. If your lease ends, you should expect me. If your lease is ended, I'm not doing my job. If I don't contact you and say, hey, your tenant's been here for X amount of years. If your tenant's been there for 4 to 5 years, I will be sending you a quote to paint. You don't have to paint. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need a paint, but that's when you should be looking to paint, is every 5 years. And a paint job does go a long way to freshening up your property. If it's been rented for 4 or 5 years, and then even before that, it's just never been updated, and it's been some time. Especially during the fix and flip phase, there became a large capacity issue. So a lot of our rents were going up sort of organically because the market was there and all of these things were great. So a lot of what we're experiencing is we had a few buildings and units here where we weren't really actively saying to the owner, hey, you should update, because we could still increase the rent without doing a lot of updates. Now, those are the ones that we're starting to really see right now, because we have a larger amount of capacity, and those units really are starting to stick out like a sore thumb. So what do I mean by that? Well, they have 70s or 80s cabinetry in the kitchen and in the bathroom, and one particular building that we have, it's quite institutional. Really, it's held up really well, but the floors are all tile, large tile all the way throughout. The bedroom doesn't look like a bedroom. It's not cozy. It's not lived in. So, that was a different kind of recommendation. There's really nothing wrong with those units, but it is time to start looking at what we do. So obviously the natural time to renovate is always at the end of a lease. So when we have a tenant who's giving us 60 days notice, one of the things we like to do, I have my listing agent, and he will notify me like, hey, this says I need to get it on the market, but it's been rented since 2018. So he goes out, he takes a few pictures for me. I take a good look at them. I work with my client services manager, and we look at those, and there's must-dos. You must paint this. It's been 5 years and probably 5 years before that. I must get you to paint it. This vanity is really shabby. Don't have a choice. I'm changing that out. So I always approach it this way with the owners. I like to tell them, here is what you must do, here's what you could do, and here's what I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you as an option that you could do on a larger scale. And I try to give that budget range. So, you know, the things that are must-dos, I try to, like, you know, in general, we'll quote it as needed. But then it's like, if I, you know, the could-dos, I try to keep that budget if for 10,000, I think you could get this much done and accomplished with that. And then here's what I'd be remiss if I didn't offer you the opportunity. And I really want to phrase it that way because that's what's important to me. Yes, absolutely. No bones about it. I make money if you renovate your property and use me. There's no question. But my job as your property manager is to protect your asset, to help you grow your asset and make sure that I'm making the proper recommendations in a timely manner. It's a waste of that notice. You know, it's a waste of a notice. If you're in today's environment with people not moving, people are not giving notice like they were. This is going down, right? Because if you moved in somebody in 2018, you're paying $900 a month for your one bedroom unit. Well, those are now renting at $1,300 almost organically. Well, if I look at that and we haven't done anything in a long time in that, I would be remiss if I didn't say to you, we need to do this. We should do these, and this here, if you give me a budget between, let's say 25 and 35, depends on how large the unit is, then this is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, and it's probably time for you to start doing these as you organically get them back from your tenants. And so that's the first easy, when do you do it? Your lease turns over. I get a lot of questions from property owners. Should I serve an N13, kick the tenant out and renovate it? The simple answer is no. The more robust answer is it's just not that simple, right? It's only if in your budget for renovating, you are planning to add a budget to buy that tenant out. Because the chances, you know, the reality is, an N13 isn't a magic bullet that, oh, the tenant will go, I'll renovate it, they'll go get a new place and they won't want to come back. Not true. This is a very savvy tenant environment, and these N13s or Renovations are really high on everybody's radar. I get news reports every day because, you know, Google's figured me out. So I get lots of landlord-tenant issues in my inbox for reading. I do a lot of reading about this sort of things. I certainly keep up to date with anything that's related to the landlord-tenant board. And, you know, today's environment it's highly frowned upon, and there's a lot of education about what the tenant's rights are. So, the bottom line is, if you're not prepared to bundle into your renovation budget a cash budget to buy this tenant out, then it's not the time to renovate, even though it might be what you need to do or want to do. So it's all about, you know, being prepared to add that to your reno budget. So it's never a no, but it's a question. So let's talk about an N13 and what might happen if you give it. Well, when you give out an N13, you have to give that tenant 120 days notice from the beginning of the month. So right now, if I wanted to say, yeah, I want my tenant to move out so I can renovate this unit, and I need to do a renovation that's so large that they can't stay there while I do it. So I'm going to give them that. If I give them that today, they have to have all of March, all of April, all of May, all of June. So does that make sense? If you're lucky and they're out of there June 30th, just like you asked, does it make sense? Are you going to be able to get your quotes, have your contractors, get them in? How long is it going to take? And are you going to be ready, up and running for September 1st? Because let me tell you, that's when you need to get on the market for rent. So you have to be strategic if you are going to work with a tenant to try to get them out about what time of the year. Remember, in the summer, it's not so easy to hire a contractor. It's not so easy to find capacity no matter which industry and who you're using, whether you're using me or anybody else. So it's really important to understand that. And it's also really important to make sure that whatever your timeline is, you're going to get to market for September 1st. That is the #1 busiest time of the year where you have the most amount of people looking, and it's when you can get the highest amount of rent. Okay, so really the benefit of timely renovations is that you're going to increase your property value with the market. You're going to have higher tenant satisfaction in terms of the home that they live in. And then you're going to be staying competitive in the market. And I want to touch on this a little bit. You know, when I first started here at Marda Management in 2018, it was a really different market than it is today. And you know, overall, when we were renting in 2018, if we took everything, doesn't matter what it was, 1-bedroom, 3-bedroom houses, whatever, you just threw everything that we rented in the year of 2018, and the average number for rental was $775. Today, that number's at $1,365. So this has been a massive jump in the Windsor market. Anybody who's from the Windsor market knows that we were really depressed, and in some ways, you know, to a lot of my investors' point, we're still really depressed. We're still cheaper than most markets. We're not cheaper to our medium income, but we're still a lot cheaper than a lot of other markets, so there's still lots of opportunity. But now it really is about being competitive. You cannot put your apartment on the market that was good enough in 2018 because you couldn't really bump the rent all that much from the last tenant. You can't put that on the market today and be competitive. You're going to have to lower your price. If you lower your price, you're going to attract a tenant that may not respect your space. That, you know, and frankly, it's getting so hard out there to rent that tenants' expectations are higher. So even if they rent your apartment for $1,000 because it isn't really all that updated, they may expect that once they're in there, they're going to put those work orders in for new cabinets. They're going to be complaining about that floor that, even though it's not really damaged, has a crack in it. Those are things that would have gotten away with. But right now, in today's Windsor market particularly, you're not getting away with that. So you won't be competitive. And then the last thing, you know, is your appraisals values. Right now, every time when you're refining, appraisers are coming. We're getting insurance appraisals. I never had so many insurers want appraisals almost annually. And they're driving some of these renovations because they're not willing to insure if your cabinets are all falling apart. They want these things addressed. And they're looking for proof it's been addressed before they'll renew your insurance even. So given that you're seeing the banks and appraisers on a highly more frequent, and of course that's what we want, right? With interest rates and everything changing, we certainly, if we're doing a refi, we're asking for those appraisers to come. So bringing your property up it's not an option. The time is now. There was a time you could get away with it. No longer here in Windsor. So the next thing we want to talk about is really the depth of your renovations and how to make those decisions. And I think this is where it is really key to talk with somebody in the business before you start doing it, or at least before you start picking all your finishes, or, you know, what I hate to meet somebody, or I shouldn't say hate. It's always so difficult when I meet somebody and they've really gone to town on their units. They've made absolutely gorgeous 2 new basement units, gone to town. They have thumbprint access. They have, you know, state-of-the-art stoves that cost $6,000 and, you know, great, beautiful granite tops. And they're like, okay, so I really need $2,000 for this unit. And it's just not a $2,000. It's in the basement. It's small. It's a large bachelor. You can't get too bad. I don't want to say you can't. You can get whatever you want if you're willing to wait long enough. You can get the price you want. But I want to talk to you before you go that far. I want to talk to you about the neighborhood you live in. I want to bring us in to have a consult with you. You know, talk about the neighborhood you're in. Ask us for comps. I'll give you some comps and renovations we've done. We've done renovations absolutely throughout the entire city. I can give you comps in your neighborhood, and I can show you what kind of bump we've gotten. So that might help better inform what you're going to do in your unit. You might think, oh, I'm going to take my nice big 1-bedroom and I'm going to split it into a 2-bedroom because I can make more money. Probably could have got better. Probably could have got best rent, making it a nice, leaving it a large 1-bedroom and putting nicer finishes on it. There's lots of 2-bedrooms in the market. The market is absolutely saturated with 2-bedroom units. So the price isn't there. The price, like those larger 1-bedrooms, much better idea. So not every time, and it just depends. Again, what's the neighborhood? What's your finishes? What kind of comps are there around? So this is when, if I could, wave a magic wand, this is when I would really like to meet that investor who's starting off with a brand new unit or doing those renovations before you come to me with a completed project and a budget that you absolutely must have, because that's a tough spot for anybody to be in. So when we're talking about, there's a lot of, right now we were just having a conversation that right now we have a lot of new to market supply here in Windsor. Lots of new condos that are absolutely beautiful. And so you really run the risk of choice. I had somebody who has a beautiful building downtown. It took, a while for them to rent it out at the prices that they needed. And when I said to him, he's a real estate agent and he owns the property. And I said, what's the challenge for you? And he said, choice. I can pull up 26 other listings exactly like mine. So when they're coming in and they're saying, oh, this beautiful brand new place, they all have gyms, they all have great workout centers, they all have great lobbies, they all have the newest intercoms, all these really great features. So then you have choice at this really nice level. And so somebody will say, your closets aren't quite big enough. Or I wish your kitchen was just a little bit larger because somewhere else that pattern's out there for them. So you've got to be careful when, depending on what you're doing, about what you're competing against, because that should really inform your budget and your finish. Is what are you competing against in your neighborhood and in the marketplace? And especially if you want $2,500 for a 2-bedroom unit, then you're gonna have to look like a brand new condo. And you're gonna have to wait your turn. There's a lot of those on the market right now. So, it's not impossible. Things will change, there's lots of change coming in the market here in Windsor, everywhere. Interest rates, people are saying it's going to go down again. When it goes down, I do think we'll see movement in the real estate market again. But for better or worse, housing supply is going down. Rental units supply will eventually compress. Right now we have been at 2% or less since September. And it has not gone, normally I'm looking in February, I'm usually at 4%. Last year I was about 4% vacancy. It was a tough year last year. So it held at 2% all the way through the winter, which usually we see a little bit of an increase. So that's, it's really important that when you're going into these deep renovations to make sure you're informed first. Because what is going to get you the most bang for your buck, right? Because that's what's important. So one of the things that we're talking about, what's your bang for your buck? You want to know a couple of things. What are you going to get out of it if you had to, what kind of asset increase valuation are you going to get by doing it? That matters. It may not feel that great because it really isn't, it isn't in your pocket or in your hand like rent is, but it does matter. It is a consideration. The next thing is what kind of rent increase you can get. So I have some pictures. We're going to add them to the video of the last two renovations that were pretty full gut renovations from very old units. And, they were full renos, new kitchens, floors, painting, drywall repair in some cases, new drywall altogether. Both of those properties, those rents comps were 50% bumps, because of how old the old finishes were and how nice the new units are. So that's not necessarily going to happen every time. So my other best example is the last recommendation I did for a building that I was just referencing earlier, where I felt like nice finishes, it's held up. Kitchen, the cabinets are from about the late 80s. Bathrooms, same, not ugly, not old, isn't harvest gold. We're not quite that old, and finish in the bathroom. But, you know, probably the next generation of what that would be. And so my sentiment to the owner is, look, you could just paint this unit, and which it needed, and really you don't have to do much else. You know, the vanity isn't looking great, so we should replace the vanity and do it. But when I look at, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say to them, I really think you should either paint the, I'm not a big fan of painting the cabinets, but take off those doors, put new cabinet doors on to modernize that kitchen, new countertop, new sink, new faucet, new light fixture, update the appliances, go into the bathroom, put a new vanity, new light fixture. It has tile all the way around the wall that's a pink color, which you can either have that reglazed to white or remove altogether, put drywall in. So I think, you know, and I'm looking at about a $30,000 budget, and those units easily rent all day long right now at about $1,200, $1,200 to $1,400 inclusive. And with about that $30,000 reno, we would start at $1,400 because it is inclusive. They're really large units, and if we really made it in that neighborhood, they rent. I never have trouble renting in that neighborhood. So I think it's really important when you're asking, well, what am I going to get out of it? Again, that's when it's really important to work with, you know, whoever your expert in the business is, and we consider ourselves the expert in the business. We do it all, right? We rent for you, we do renovations, we do maintenance. So we've been doing it for 12 years. We have that experience to give you that honest feedback that, you know, it doesn't help me to tell you to spend $35,000 on your unit and that I can rent it for $1,400 if I don't think that's true. Because, by the way, I'm expected to rent it for $1,400, so my plan is to rent it for $1,400. So, you know, when I'm giving you that advice, when we're giving you that advice, that's all these years in business experience talking. So let's talk about your budget for your renovations. The biggest thing about renovations is how much is it going to cost, and how can I control my costs, right? Coming in on time and on budget, is there anything more important than those two things? No, right? So one of the gifts we got from the fix and flip boom is we got really good at doing our prices and refining our timelines. So, you know, what makes us different? Why should you use us for your renovation? One, I have a dedicated project manager whose job it is to make sure the guys stay on time. And I have a second project manager whose job is to make sure we stay on budget. And the last two projects that we did, we quoted at and came in budget within less than 5%. So why are we so good at it? One of the best benefits makes us really unique, and I get a little bit excited talking about it. It's our loading dock. It's our warehouse. It's our ability. We already have all of this stock. We've done it. We know exactly everything. So that's going to be needed. So I can holistically look at your entire quote and make sure that everything is there. Everything is there because the guys literally can go and they can shop from the list. They've done it before. They know if they're ordering tile that they need to order trim, that they need to order grout, that they need to order buckets, whatever it is. So we can come in, and we did in our last job. We actually came in slightly under on our material costs because we have the costs. We know what our warehouse prices are. We have it in stock. We can literally go in and say, we're going to do this reno. This is the material we need. And I don't have to go to Home Depot and shop and worry about the prices changing and hope I can get it. No, I have everything there. I know what your material list is going to be. So because we're able to provide that right up front with you, and we manage our time, you're going to come in on budget. And, you know, that's the other benefit. If you don't want to use me to do your renovation, you got a guy, he's great, you love him, great, use me to project manage. I don't want you to have to come down from Toronto. You need someone to keep you on time. You need someone who's going to go check on that job site. So here at Marda Management, we charge an 8% project management fee on any project over $1,000. Why do we do that? Well, because they do take a little bit more from us, right? And because we check on the work. We make sure it's done to a standard that you are expecting from us. And so if you want to renovate your project, absolutely, please do. But allow me to be your project manager. I will make sure that your finished product meets your standards, but also Marda's standards. And Marda's standards come from Marla Coffin. And let me tell you, she's one tough cookie when she's going through and doing a deficiency list. She's taught us very well. So, you know, I think that those are the things that are really important. You need boots on the ground. It's not an easy thing to do. I have a property owner who's been renovating a building for a couple of years now with delays with COVID, etc. He's here like every couple days. Because if he's not able to stay on top of what's happening next, getting the electrician in, getting the city in, getting this in. Well, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. And we can move that project along, keep you informed, and deliver a product at the end that makes you money. Great, so let's open it up to any questions in the audience. Yeah.
Now, when you're working with investors, what are you finding is holding them back or possibly contributing to a delay in a renovation or not taking action as soon as they could? Mm-hmm.
I think it's just the fear, right? What is that really going to look like from a business perspective for them? And a couple of things. For some of our investors who are really long-term investors and kind of sat on their properties for a long time and haven't done renovations, they're really new to it, and it can be overwhelming. How much is it going to cost? Is it going to stay on budget? And how much am I going to get out of it? And how much work is this going to be for me? I think that that's in that class. And then with the newest investors, it's all about their biggest concern is what their end result is going to be and having the budget for it up front, and then being able to sustain themselves with their income that they're going to get out of that. So I think for me, I think it's the fear of unknown, right? And not understanding that, you know, it can actually be a reasonably painless process, particularly if you have us by your side.
So with the loading dock,
yeah.
Do you guys offer a wide range of different finishes, or do most of Marda's units have the same finishes?
Yeah, it's such a great question, because, you know, if you go out there, you can see across the board, there's been a lot of uniformity in some of the renovations based on what everybody thinks the tenants like. But absolutely, we have a lot of flexibility in our warehouse. I do have certain floor that's in stock. It's more than one color. If you need a different color, it's available to us. We certainly have a catalog, and we can get drop ships with it usually within a week. And so certainly we can accommodate all kinds of different finishes. And I'd love to, as part of the video that we're going to produce after this, make sure that we show you some of the different kinds of finishes that we have done, because it is important. You don't have to go with grays and gray stainless steel. You can still, you know, you can go with a lot warmer finishes. We have somebody who did these great brown cabinets and that kind of thing. So for sure, what we have in stock is we have some uniformity with what we have in stock, but we have a lot of flexibility about what we can have drop shipped in with a really short amount of time.
Building on that last question on the loading dock, is it possible as an investor to also take advantage of the loading dock and be able to purchase from it?
Sure. Yeah, that's actually our next stage, is to start opening that door to our clients who are doing their own renovations, maybe have their own guys, but would like to be able to do a one-stop shop material list. As well as one of the things we can do right now, we're ready to go and set up for it, is we have lots of investors who have units in other markets that we just don't operate in. We can do drop ship appliances and get you a great price right now on any of your newest appliances, where we can drop ship to wherever you are in Ontario. And so that's certainly an option. And if you need anything more than that, you should absolutely reach out to myself or Chad and ask about that, because it's certainly something I'd like to discuss with you, for sure.
Does Marda only offer its services in Windsor and Essex County?
For renovations, yeah, no, we, you know, right now we have units as far away as Dresden. In terms of renovations, we probably, that is our market right now. Again, you know, in terms of supplying material, different situation, but actually manpower overseeing projects. I wouldn't ever want to commit to doing something in London, Ontario. I'm not based there. I couldn't do a good job for you. So if I can't do a good job, I'm not going to offer the service. But in general, we can go all the way through Windsor-Essex, Leamington, Wheatley. As far as, like I said, we're already as far as Dresden right now. And we certainly have units in Chatham, Waterloo, etc. Yeah, excellent. Well, you know what? I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time and taking this journey with me as I take over this speaking position up here. It's, you know, I'm not going to lie that I didn't have some nerves going into it, but you know, I appreciate everybody making me feel so comfortable and having this conversation with you, because I think it's really important. And I think it's really, one thing I want to tell you is we're the experts. We're here to help you. If you need to do a reno, if you're thinking about a reno, you want to know, like, when should I, how should I, when's the last time I did do a reno? If you have a question, I want you to give us a call. You can reach out to, or an email, drop us an email. You can reach out to me directly. My email is really easy, judy@mardamanagement.com, Judy. And, you know, alternatively, if you're a client, you already reach out to our client services email, which is clientservices@mardamanagement.com. And of course, you can always call 519-255-RENT and ask to speak to somebody in client services about your property management. And we would be so happy to work with you. I will work with you if you need material. I will work with you if you'd like to have me oversee your property. I'd love to do your renovations for you. You don't have to be my property management client, by the way, for any of that. Just reach out. Let's talk about it.